You're inside the Press Box. Christian FM Sports presents Inside the Press Box, where we discuss all sports from our favorite high school team to college and pro. Here's your host, Paul Tipton and Gary Paris.
Well, hey there, Vero Nation. Thanks for joining us in the Press Box. Along with Gary Paris, I'm Paul Tipton, and boy, it's so good to be in the Press Box this week. Coming off a win, Vero Beach gets their first win and a district win on top of that. 27-0, the final score against Centennial last Thursday night. And now we get to turn our attention to Heritage. We'll talk about them in just a few moments. We obviously got to recap a game on Thursday night that had its share of interesting moments, especially for our broadcast, as we were dealing with some technical issues throughout the course of the night. Thanks to Mother Nature and rain. Boy, you know, electronics and rain just don't mix very well, GP.
Not for us, they don't.
Yeah, they sure don't. So our apologies. You know, we tried to work through it. Had most of the game, but there was parts of it where we just didn't have the audio. But if you're watching on YouTube, you could still watch the game. You just didn't have the audio throughout the course of the game. But what was interesting about this game, Gary, is that one, Vero Beach got its first win of the season. It's obviously a district win. Those are all key things for Vero Beach. We started to see a lot of improvement, especially on that offensive side of the ball. We saw a lot of improvement that we've been waiting for. We knew it was there, and it finally clicked on Thursday.
You know, Paul, you're absolutely right on that, because I really felt that the game, we needed this game really bad. Mm-hmm. We got guys that are banged up. We've got guys that will be coming back soon. And this was a game that 27-0 is a good score. I think we haven't played our best game yet. I think we won that game. Defense did their job, an outstanding job of stopping them.
Yeah.
And the adjustments that Bill Mata made from 1 week to the next week. And Lenny called a very smart game. He helped his quarterback out. Our running backs are still, one of them's banged up pretty good, and he got into play, but he's still banged up. And so this was one of those games where, we only had 44 plays, if I'm right. And of those 44 plays, we had 407 yards. And, that's like 9.25 yards per play.
Is that good?
That's good. Okay. That part's good. That part you like. You saw the young quarterback just, he looked good. Mm-hmm. He really, and I know this sounds repetitive, folks, but I'm being honest with you, and it is that this young man, for a ninth grader, a young ninth grader, is an unbelievable talent that he has. We saw in each game he gets even better and better and better.
He sure does. And
teams have tried to blitz him. They tried to stunt. His ability to, when the line breaks down, Paul, his ability. Where he's dangerous out there as a running back.
Yeah.
I mean, this kid can take off and run. He got out of several sack opportunities, maybe only got 5 or 6 yards, but he did a good job of being able to avoid the sack and run for a first down or throw the ball on the run.
Yeah, he's using his legs wisely, I would say. The first 3 ball games, including the Kickoff Classic, we didn't see him really run the ball at all. It was all, stay in the pocket, which you want to see from your quarterback most times. You want to see him stay in the pocket and not get happy feet and think about running too quickly, which he had. But boy, I tell you what, in the last 2 ball games, he's had some nice runs, and they were key moments of the ball game to keep drives alive and a score.
Absolutely. I mean, he was 19 of 26 passing for 277 yards. Mm-hmm. And then he was 8 carries for 43 yards. You say, well, that's not no, you don't understand. He was under pressure. A lot of those weren't designed runs.
Right.
Those were, you got a line that's still young. Now you got a line that's not your number one line out there right now. And he gets in there and he steps back into the pocket, looks well. If he doesn't get it, he'll take off and give you 5 yards or 4 yards or 8 yards, or in some cases he'll go 1 yards, and as he did last week. And he's capable of doing he throws a beautiful pass. He was able to hook up with his receivers. I thought Lenny Jankowski called a great game for this kid and for his team right now.
I agree. I agree. Gary, I want to point out something, because last week when we talked to Coach Jankowski at Coach's Corner, he talked about something that I found very interesting. He talked about the two most important possessions of the ball game, right before the end of the first half and the start of the second half. And Vero Beach had the ball to finish out the first half of the game, and they were able to go down the field, get a score, knowing they were going to get the ball to start the third quarter. Now they get the ball for the third quarter. Now, they don't end up with points, but man, the drive itself from a time of possession took up over half of the quarter. So you got Centennial, who didn't touch the ball for almost a full quarter between what they finished out on the second quarter to the start of the third quarter. They didn't touch the ball for almost a full quarter before their offense got back out on the field.
And you know who the biggest cheerleaders out there were? The guys on the defense.
Yeah.
Because they thought about last week, the game before, and how they were out there most of the game. You know what I mean? So those guys were the number one fans out there. And you're right, that last 3 minutes and the first 3 minutes of the second half is very important to a team. If you mentally, you need to stop a defense if they got the ball back. That team has the ball coming back on the start of the second half. We've seen that done many times. The team has that momentum. We saw it with Buchholz. Yeah, Buchholz got the last score in the first half and started with the ball the second half.
And when you got a fresh defense, Gary, man, do they look really good. You talk about, they only gave up 67 yards of offense in the ball game. Now, this is what I find the interesting stat. First half, they gave up 48. So they only gave up 19 yards in the second half. Yeah, and one first down.
That, I don't care who you are, that is a just unbelievable stat you just said right there. 67 total yards.
I couldn't believe I was reading that right.
And they only had 5 first downs. 5 first downs
for the whole game.
Whole game.
One in the second half.
And that's why I said to you, we didn't play our best game because we scored 27 points. But our best game is yet to come. I really feel like this team, it's going to mature as the season goes along.
Yep.
You take right now, we're 1-3. We're 4 plus an exhibition game, 5 games into the season.
Yeah.
Mons is no longer a rookie. He is now
all of your freshmen.
Yeah. They're into the halfway through the season.
Yep.
And they've got this experience now. And now's the time for them to start maturing. You've given them a chance to adjust. We've played 3 tough teams in a row, and some of those games. The Galley game was a very close game.
Yep.
And then when you saw Buchholz, and then you saw Homestead, and then you just knew that if you came out or you were looking for W's, you were looking to stay healthy. But the most important thing, you got a chance to play against good competition, and that's going to make you a better football player.
It definitely, I think we're starting to see some of the fruit of that, Gary. Now, obviously, as you talked about, like you'd have liked to got some W's. We didn't get the W's in that 3-week stretch. You'd have liked to come out of there healthy. We didn't get to do that either. We've still got some guys that, are still dealing with some injuries that kept them out of this ball game. may keep him out for a couple more games. And then we got some guys who may not come back for the rest of the season, just depending. We're still waiting to hear, what the medical professionals will say about that. But, I mean, this was a good game for Vero Beach to get under their belts for a lot of reasons. One, you get your first, it's kind of like getting that weight off your shoulder, Gary. It's like, okay, we got to win now. Okay, this could really open up the floodgates here and start Vero on a winning streak. I
agree with you, and I like the idea. The young man, Jannard Young, he carried the ball 9 times, I believe, and it was like 85 yards or so.
Yep.
And the mistakes he had 2 fumbles.
Right.
And that's the learning. You won a game, but you gave up 2 fumbles. That's 2 possessions that you didn't have.
Yep.
You lost, but you still won the game, and you got your young kid. Lansford did play some. He caught 4 passes. He was used more as a receiver because he's got good hands, Lansford, out of the backfield.
Yep.
And he caught about 4 passes for about 47 yards. So the only time you can come in and help get your team a first down on every catch you make, that's a good deal. And he only carried the ball 1 time. And so, but your workhorse there was, and he only, again, the 2 workhorses were your running back Young and your quarterback Mons.
Yeah. So I mean, again, I think this was a good game. Vero Beach now can go. All right, now we got that one out of the way. Let's move on to the next opponent, and again, this will be another road test for Vero Beach as they travel north. This time, we go back into Brevard County. And we go play an opponent we saw last year in the first round of the playoffs, and that is Heritage and the Panthers. Now, the Panthers are coming in here 1-3. Their first win was in the first week of the season against Palm Bay, a 44-0 win. Now, we'll face Palm Bay at the end of the regular season. But since then, it's been a 3-game losing streak for the Panthers against Seminole, O'Galley, we know them, and Cocoa. And of course, most people are losing against Cocoa.
And O'Galley.
O'Galley defeated the Panthers 21-0. Cocoa 39-13. Now, here's some interesting plot twist, if you will. There are some familiar faces at Heritage, particularly quarterback, a young man that was at Vero Beach last year, Jackson Summerall, is also getting some time at quarterback at Heritage this year. So there's some little familiarity there. Of course, going back to the turf where we won a ball game, I guess will bring some confidence to part of the team, but you still got, some inexperience, like in particular Champ Mons, Gary, who has not faced this team before.
Well, you've got him, and you've got, I'm not worried about the opponent anymore. I think this kid studies very hard.
Yeah.
Lenny told you and I, at Caps, I tell you what, if you ever really want to really learn a lot about football, you ought to watch that story we do with him, the meeting we have at Caps Pizza on YouTube, because he gives out some really good information about his players. He talks about the game, and I think our fans can learn a lot about Fighting Indian football if they would, if they tune into YouTube on Tuesday night. And get the coach's corner at Caps. He gives all kinds of wonderful information, talks about the strategy of the game, about our opponent and all. I mean, it just is, if you really want to learn a little more about football and get to know Lenny Jankowski, you need to watch that.
Oh, I agree. We certainly enjoy spending time with Coach, and I always find it fascinating. I love just asking him questions, both on and off the air, and just hearing how he sees the game, and just trying to be a better student of the game by learning from somebody that's just been around it for so long. Is such a master at it, I feel, and that's I know that sounds like a suck up kind of statement, but it's true. No, but it really is. The guy really knows the game.
Listen, I've been around coaches. I've been around football a long time. Lenny Jankowski is one of the smartest coaches. I've told you this for the last several years, and that his ability to read a defense and put an offense in, and the schemes that he puts in there, he does a great job. I mean, yeah, we're off to a tough start, but some of that's Some of that's a combination of injuries. Some of it is a combination of a lot of young kids.
Sure.
And but I think the best football is yet to come. I think this team is going to you're going to enjoy watching this team for the last 6 games now in the regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the Panthers, folks, in case you're wondering, with the reclassification that took place in the offseason, the Panthers are a 5A school. We're a 7A school. So this isn't like a potential preview of a playoff matchup like it was a year ago. So this is really it's another road test for Vero Beach, another test overall for Vero Beach, honestly. So it's going to be interesting. Again, Heritage has played some tough opponents. I mean, Seminole's no slouch, O'Galley's no slouch, Coco's no slouch. So I expect this to be a really good ball game.
I do too. I think you'll come and you'll see the same competitiveness we saw last year in the playoffs, and it's sad, but I mean, when I say we don't get a chance to play these teams in the playoffs or any, I don't know if there's any school in Brevard County that would be a 7A school. I'm not sure. I don't think Melbourne is. I know O'Galley's not.
No.
And I don't think I know Coco's not. Titusville's not. Either's Astronaut. So there's all them Palm Bay schools they got up there.
Well, between Melbourne and Palm Bay and the surrounding areas, they have so many schools that the overall school population is lower for each school now. So, the likelihood that we're going to face any of the Brevard County teams is slim to none at this point. So, but look, we're going to face them in the regular season on Friday night. It's going to be a tough opponent. I expect it to be a dog fight, but I'll tell you what, Gary. If Vero Beach offensively can control the ball the way they did on last Thursday night and keep that defensive front and, I should say the whole defensive unit, if they can keep them fresh, wow, man, I like our chances.
I do too. I like it. I think we have a really good shot of winning this ball game on the road. We've been known to be road warriors too, as well as home warriors, but it's not often we have back-to-back away games on the road.
Yeah,
but it's exciting. It will be a great game. I think the fans up there are going to enjoy it. They're fans. They've seen us. There'll be a lot of people there. I think we'll have a good crowd from Vero Beach go up and participate in it. And if weather permitting, we should have a good game.
I agree.
And I'm excited because I don't have to work Saturday.
Well, you got your work cut out for you last weekend, my friend.
Goodness.
You had to fly out to Dallas with UCF, and that was an evening game and a late night game, and then of course get back home. And but wow, what a win for UCF!
Wow, it was one of those. Last year we were losing those games. Mm-hmm. And because of the maturity of this team and the talent that he's put out there for us on the transfer portal and through the high school kids we got, they're maturing. This is a different team this year. This team, we were down 28-7 in the third quarter.
I know, I was watching it.
And came back and won that game 35-34. I just compliment Coach, the way he handled the game, Coach Malzahn. He did a great job in the second half. Adjustments. KJ Jefferson was totally a different quarterback in the second half than he was in that first half of the game. We got a running back, folks. I can't brag about him enough, but he's probably one of the best in the country, R.J. Harvey. And
he is good.
He had 160 yards rushing and about 25 yards pass catching the last game, and 4 touchdowns.
Your receiver's not too bad either.
No, we got a good one, Kobe Hudson. And right now we're trying to find. We're trying to work a lot of receivers in, trying to find out who can be that number 3 receiver.
Yeah,
because everybody's going to start in and out on Kobe Hudson. They're not going to let him have that many, those big games, especially as we go farther down the season. But our running backs, we have 4 fantastic running backs. We just can't give the ball enough times to everybody.
Well, true. Yeah.
And so it was exciting. The defense settled down and and just really played a great second half of the game. It's a tale of two halves. And last year we were losing those games. Mm-hmm. We were the ones up ahead. Then we couldn't finish them. And this year we were able to. And of course, now we got to say something about your Miami. I mean, they went in and did exactly what they had to do.
Well,
they were playing. Yeah. They were playing an easy team.
Very much like what you just said about UCF.
Yeah.
A year ago, those were games we were struggling in, and it was a coin flip whether or not we were going to win or lose those ball games. But
if you look at I think it was like 50-something to 7 or 6, whatever the final was in that game.
I think it was 62-0.
62-0. Okay. Yeah. You know, they did everything they were supposed to do. They played a lot of people. They were supposed to beat the team. And these teams, they pay them good money to come down and play.
Oh, they do.
And so you got to go in there and do your job. Miami is for real. Florida's struggling right now. Florida is struggling, and there's a lot of talk about replacing their head coach and buying them out. That's been the talk Sunday and Monday around. If you read today, Sunday when we taped this. He is still a head coach, Billy Napier, and I don't think I just don't see it right now. But I'm not a Gator fan. I don't know bull gators from baby gators. And
well, you and I always have these same discussions about any time that a head coach is in question, you start asking who's next?
Yeah, who do you
bring in?
Yeah, who are they going to bring in?
Right.
And in my school, Florida State struggled. They're off to the worst start they've had in a long, long time.
Yeah,
I didn't see this coming. I don't think any FSU
No, I don't think anybody saw this coming.
To lose your first 3 games, lose to Memphis.
Yeah,
who's a group of 5 team, and now they're a good team. They played good, but they still shouldn't have lost to Memphis.
No, and it's not so much the loss; it's just when you watch the game itself, it just didn't look good.
Yeah,
you don't see any real chemistry, no continuity in the team, and that doesn't speak well for your coaching staff.
No, and that and again, you go out in the portal.
Yeah,
and sometimes you make you make good gains. And sometimes you have bad gains.
Right.
One last thing I want to talk about, and we'll go to pros on this one. I'm going to ask you this. I'm a Dolphin fan. You're a 49ers fan.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think Tua, who's had 3 of these concussions before, what do you think his future is? And you don't have to just give me your opinion.
No, well, I've been having this discussion with folks throughout the course of the weekend. Talked to a lot of different sports buddies and whatnot, and my answer's been the same thing. My first thing is it's heartbreaking. When you see that. I mean, Gary. I mean, obviously you played in the game and you played in an era where there was a lot of collisions and a lot. I mean, it was like glorified, really.
They didn't call it concussion back then.
No, they didn't call it concussion.
He got his bell rung.
Right, exactly. But, growing up, it's like you almost like were excited when you saw big hits like that. And you're like, wow, that was cool. You knocked the guy out. Now you watch it and it's like, oh, your body and heart just cringe when you see it, because now we have an understanding of what the effects are from these kind of collisions and whatnot. It's like there's a different perspective, different understanding. And I guess all that to say, my answer is this: is like it's such a difficult decision to make, because look, a guy like Tua has grown up with one objective and one purpose and goal, and that is to play in the NFL, and he's done it. And how do you all of a sudden just walk away from something that's like been your sole focus? That's hard to do. People don't fully understand it. You are in this room. You're the only guy that fully understands that. I don't fully understand it, but when you've been doing something your entire life, that's been your sole focus. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm done with it," and walk away. That's not an easy decision.
No.
But look, if money wasn't involved, I would say it's probably an easier decision for him. But you can't ignore the fact that there's millions at stake here.
Yep.
And it's a hard decision.
He's got a guaranteed contract, but in that contract,
that doesn't matter.
In that contract, there are stipulations about, medical injuries or something. Then there's depending on, there's things that we don't know that's in the contract.
Right.
We can speculate. he's 26 years old, and he's going to be the only person that can make that decision.
100%.
I mean, it's going to fall
100%.
back on his shoulders.
Right.
He can go get a second, a third, and a fourth opinion after the first guy says yay or nay, depending on what you want to do. I love what McDaniels, his coach, said. Mm-hmm. He says, listen, I care about the kid.
Sure.
I care about him.
Yeah.
I don't care about the football. This is just, he said he's such a great kid.
Yeah.
Great person. And that, my concern is and he has to say that as a coach. My concern is for the player.
Yeah. Well,
and he should say that as a coach because,
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, Gary, we can go back and look. I mean, look, I think about Troy Aikman. I think about Steve Young, guys like that basically stopped their career prematurely because of that. They had to make those decisions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I would not fault Tua at all if he decides to keep trying to play. I wouldn't fault him if he decides to hang it up. And again, that's such a personal decision.
As a fan,
you want to.
I love the contact.
Yeah,
I love seeing good contact.
Sure.
As a fan. I don't like seeing players get hurt. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And that wasn't even one of those. That wasn't even one of those, big kind of hits. I mean, it's just the placement of the hit. It was right to the side of his head, with a leg. It's like that's not even. What do you call it? The helmet to helmet type of contact. No, it's not. I mean, it's not even that. It's not even like in the old days when you used to see some of these guys, they would just launch themselves to hit a guy up under the chin or something. It wasn't one of those kind of hits. And, so I feel for him. I mean, look, I think probably, Tua's definitely got a hard decision. But let's just say, Gary, if he decides he wants to keep on playing, now it becomes a really tough decision for the organization.
It does that, and how to protect him, and what. And again, why he lunged is the competitiveness of the game. Why he lowered his.
It's instinct,
and that's exactly right. It was. That's just part of the game. He needed the first down, and he lowered his shoulder and his head. I would have preferred he slid.
Sure, of course.
And lived for another down.
Yeah,
but it's not. That's not what happened. There's a part of a player that says, "I got to do this."
Of course.
We've covered it all, buddy. We've covered college, pro, and high school.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad.
All right. Look at you, man. Still got energy after a long weekend like that.
Yes.
Proud of you. All right. Well, folks, we got a game coming up for Vero Beach on Friday night. Yeah, we're back to Friday nights now for the rest of the season. So game time is at 7 o'clock. We are on the road, so keep that in mind. If you would love to have you down there or up there at in Palm Bay at Heritage High School. Game time 7 o'clock. Our coverage will begin at 6 p.m. with countdown to kickoff, presented by Cap's Pizza. And of course, if you don't make the game, you can listen to it on our radio station at 91.9, online at ChristianFM.com, and of course, you can watch it at our YouTube channel, Vero Nation Network. Hey, thanks for joining us inside the press box. GP, PT, hey, as always, go Indians.
Thanks for joining us inside the press box. For more, go to ChristianFM.com.